Hello, 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 hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Come in, come in, come in. This is Tamika's Den. I am Tamika. Okay, and this is Atlanta, y'all. All right, the big payback, season 3, episode 4. And we know with Atlanta, you never know what you're gonna get. They like to mix it up. And this was definitely one of those episodes that's gonna have some people talking and some people getting mad and in their feelings, all right? And so we started out this episode basically meeting this guy, Marshall, right? He's on his way. He goes to his coffee shop, right? Stops to get coffee on his way to work. We see him picking up this pack of cookies. He's standing behind this black guy that's talking on the phone. All of a sudden, the lady starts talking about, "Oh, sir, you belong at the back of the line. I didn't get that one." And he puts the cookies in his pocket. First, I didn't know whether it was on purpose by mistake, but nonetheless, he puts the cookies in his pocket right in front of her. She don't say nothing about that. She starts to tell him about how, he needs to go ahead and order his coffee because he couldn't hear her at first. He had to take the headphone out to know what she was saying. And so he go ahead and order the coffee and he get in the car and he's drinking his coffee and he reaches in his pocket, fills the cookies, take them out, starts smiling, and he basically, opens up the pack to start eating them. And I'm like, sir, you just stole those cookies out the store, okay? So nonetheless, I'm like, let's see where this is going. And he goes to pick his daughter up, from her mother house. I think the daughter name was Katie. She's thanking him for coming to pick her up. They seem like they have a pretty good relationship, but like they probably separated or whatever, and she's thanking him for picking her up to take her to school. He's asking her about a lamp that she has, and whether she could go ahead and let him use it because he was like, the light in his house is not good anymore. And she tells him that's fine, and he says that he's gonna come and pick the lamp up later. She's like, okay, cool. So he go ahead and taking the daughter to school, and as he's going, we're hearing this conversation on the radio about black and white and diversity and something about a Tesla owner and them being sued for $50 million and things of that nature. As he gets into the job, you got a guy in the elevator that's asking him, this doesn't bother you. You don't seem like you even thinking about it or worrying about it. They're suing people left and right. And so we start to get a little deeper into the story to find out where this is going, where apparently some people, are being fired. We have this lady come and they told them it's a meeting and they was like, about what? And when they go there, he's letting them know there's gonna be some layoffs. And one lady starts screaming, saying how it's not fair. Of course, it always gotta be one out the bunch, right? And then when he goes and sits down at his desk, one of the co-workers is telling him, they could just look up your info and they could sue you, if they find out that your family owns slaves. And he's like, no, 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 they can't do that. She was like, yes, yes, they can. She was like, I'm looking at my family history right now so I can make sure that I'm in the clear. She was like, you need to go ahead and look up yours. And he was like, no, I'm not into that kind of stuff. She was like, well, and he said he had never signed up for anything like that. She was like, well, it really doesn't matter if anybody from your family signed up for it before and it could be traced down to you, then they could end up suing you too. But he's acting like this is not a concern for him. When the guy brings up the fact that, this Tesla guy is being sued into him in the elevator, he's like, well, he got money. If he got to pay whatever millions, it's not going to hurt him. He going to be okay. So he was acting like this was just a non-factor for him. It wasn't going to bother him. It wasn't going to affect him and his family, right? But he is seeing all these other people that is affecting. When he gets out of work and he goes to pick his daughter up from school, she's asking him in the car ride home, is he racist? And he's like, no, baby, why would you ask me that? Of course not. Do you see me with any slaves in my backyard? She talking about Pedro. He was like, Pedro is not a slave, baby. I'll pay him. And he was like, our family was something Hungarian. And, what would we look like if we went back and traced and went and started asking for money? That would be crazy, right? So the daughter's just like, right. So, he could see that something was bothering her. She was sad. He was asking if she was tired or wasn't feeling well. And he's basically trying to tell her, he's going to go ahead and make her spaghetti and her favorite garlic bread. But she didn't look like she wanted to be bothered. She looked confused as hell and like she was getting upset. He told her not to think about, what the little boy said at school and that that was not true and that that was a very long, long, long time ago. So it does not affect them. All right. And so this is kind of like about black people being able to get, reparations, right? For them to be able to get, a payout or whatever and sue if they find out that, your family owns any type of slaves. So now originally when he was taking the daughter to school, she was saying how mommy had sprayed this perfume that he liked and that she feels like she wants her to come back home. He's like, oh, did she say that to you? He's like, no, but I could just tell. And she was asking him if he could maybe spend one night over there at the house with them. And he was saying how he would ask the mother. He gets her home. He's making her the spaghetti. As soon as he finishes and he's telling her dinner's ready, they get a knock at the door. And there's a guy saying, you've been served. And when he moved out the way, because he was like, what are you talking about? What's going on? I don't understand. Is this black lady that's standing there that basically starts coming all in the door and saying, yeah, this is gonna be my house, this is mine, you owe me money, you owe my family 3 million, your great great granddaddy owned my great great grandmother, and he just essentially, is trying to get her out the house and tell her no, she have to leave, and this is a big mistake, and he don't know what she's talking about. He's like, I'm gonna go ahead and call the police. And she's like, you could call whoever you want to call. Okay, I already done been to the police, so if that's what you want to do, then knock yourself out, you know. And she's taking, like I said, has the video, has the phone out recording, and she's like, oh, this is 3 bedrooms. Okay, yeah, this gonna be my 3 bedrooms and all this different kind of stuff. So basically, when she finally does walk out the door, he has slammed the door, and she was like, and don't you slam my door either. That made me laugh. Okay, so people are not playing, they are trying to get their bread. He turns and says to the daughter, don't tell your mother about this. And I'm like, yeah, right. You really think you're going to tell a child not to tell their mother about something, and she's actually not going to tell them? Okay, you wait on that. You know, so he taking her, back to school the next day, but this time he's observing, he's watching, he's making sure that there's not nobody waiting on the sidelines or anything as they come out. He gets to work and he noticed that there's not as many workers in there as it usually is. His co-workers telling him the only black workers that came in today was Willie and Lester, right? The rest of them did not show up. She's telling him that her results came back as Jewish. She talking about, you a Jew? you know, um he basically is, just sneaking around now and stuff like that because he don't want this, of course, to come out at work. He don't want it to get back to his wife. But so much for that, okay? Because Shaquina was outside the job with a bullhorn. She was screaming his name. She was talking about the amount of money that he owed and all of this different kind of stuff. And he was begging her, like, please leave me alone. Please don't do this at my job. She was like, I'm sure my great great grandmother asked to be left alone too. And so for whatever reason, he's sitting like in this break room by himself. And then Willie and Lester had came in the room talking. He decided to ask, and he speak to Lester for a minute, and he's telling him he just don't know what to do. He don't know how to handle this situation. And Lester tells him he grew up around black women all his life. He was like, yeah, I figured that. That's why I was asking. And he tells them pretty much all you could do with them is apologize to them and give them what they want. He tries to go and ask another two co-workers, and one co-worker is telling him to fight it. The other co-worker talking about, well, I just looked her up on Instagram and it's looking like you do owe her, $3 million. He gets a text from the wife that says she already picked Katie up from school. Don't bother. He goes and looks to make sure Shaquina's still not outside. And he goes to the ex-wife house, and now she is telling him, honey, child, I do not want to be bothered, okay? You're not about to sit here and mess up my damn financial money and have me take a hit because of you and what's going on with you. So we need to finalize that divorce so that when you have to pay out, it's not going to be coming from me. He's telling her this is going to blow over. He's like, are you serious? He was like, this could be happening to you as well. She was like, oh no, I'm Parisian. He was like, girl, you was just white yesterday, okay? And then as he's walking away from her, he notices that the same lamp he asked about is basically out in the trash. You got these black guys chasing him. When they see him getting ready to come back to the apartment, they already done took over the daggone apartment and are nice and comfortable there, okay? So that is obviously not gonna be his home no more because they are all camped out there waiting on him. You also had where he was trying to get away from them or whatever, and he ends up going, to stay in this hotel because, of course, he don't want to face nobody, and he don't want to have to deal with all of this. So all of that thinking that that's their problems over there, this has nothing to do with me. That's over and done with, Marshall. Okay, so apparently people are really winning these lawsuits. You had these two white women that was checking their status and was like, about to be in tears, and one of the other co-workers that was black, I think that was Willie, he was walking past laughing, and they was like, "It's not funny. This is something we all have to deal with." And it was like, yeah, but why should I care, right? You didn't care about me all the time. So we are just keeping on seeing the scenario switch and the tables, flipped or whatever the case may be, tables turned around, right? And you have him go check into this hotel. He sits down and ends up eating this cookie and is just crying, feeling all sorry for himself. He then goes downstairs in the lobby and he ends up meeting this guy named Ernest that basically says he could just call him E. And he's saying to him like, I think we pretty much in the same boat. He's asking him how long he been there. He said he just got there today. Ernest is saying he had got there. I think he said he had got there 2 days ago, and his life was just, you know, regular 2 days ago, and now it's changed. He's lost his wife, he's lost his house, he's lost his daughter. And so he was like, I just don't know what I'm gonna do now. And the guy Ernest was singing, we all pretty much in the same boat. And like I said, he was singing, his friends call him E, this lady brings him over a drink. And so come to find out, this was the same guy that played in the first episode of Lake Lanier that was telling the guy stories before that he got pulled into the water. And so he starts to tell him, like, all of this stuff was already known. This is not no secret, you know what I mean? And he was like, we acting like we have to do an investigation on history, but it's always been there. He was like, my grandfather used to tell me this story about how he pulled himself up by the bootstraps and he built everything, from the ground up. And he was like, what I came to find out is that all of that basically was bullcrap. He didn't build it up. It got built off the backs of who, right? And he was saying kids and stuff like that. And so he actually was spitting, facts, just like he was spitting facts in that first episode. And it was like, you're going with him, but then you be like, okay, where you going? Because you took it a little too deep. But he was spitting some knowledge to Marshall for a minute, all right? And he was like, everything that I thought was real as far as, what my family claimed that they was and what they could do and how they lives their lives. All of that was lies. And so he basically was like, we should have to pay up essentially. We have to pay up. Why wouldn't we pay up when we know all the different things that we, have taken and that we've done? And he was like, it's not hard to find out the information and know the facts and, what I'm saying, see the history and things like that. And so, of course, Marshall feels like, but, that's not right. I only make but so much. We don't deserve this. We not the ones that did anything. That's basically his argument. What did we do to deserve this? And, the guy E tells him, basically, we were treating slavery as if it was a mystery buried in the past. He was like, it's not, something to investigate if we choose to, like we had the option. He was like, and now history has a monetary value to it, okay? And at the end of the day, confession is not absolution, okay? And he basically was like, and if that case, and in this case, the person Shaniqua, she basically, her, them, everybody has the right to come and say, slavery is not the past, okay? And it's not a mystery at all. As a matter of fact, it is not historical curiosity either, it is cruel. And it is definitely an unavoidable ghost that haunts us in a way that we can't see. And I was like, all right now, E, come on and preach it. You better preach it. And he was like, none of us are perfect. And so he gave him his lesson for the day. And he was like, now you're separated from your wife and, she's taking care of your kid. And now she'll probably be raised without a father. But guess what? She can still build her wealth. She can still have success from the ground up. She's still in a similar position. And at the end of the day, you will be okay, and we will be okay, and she will be okay when it's all said and done, And I love the way that he broke that down. And so, after him telling his daughter's going to be okay and all of that kind of stuff, he was like, this curse will be lifted from her. He basically, was like, from all of us or whatever, and we're running from it, but now we're free. We were running from it, but now we're free, I should say. And he basically was like, excuse me for a minute after he finished his drink, and he goes walking outside. And so I guess Marshall was thinking about everything that he said to him while he was there, and he starts to look on the phone and see Shaniqua with her boys and them on the roller skate and skateboard, bike riding, whatever they was doing, and saying, "Come on, boys, make mama proud," whatever have you. And we got Miles Davis playing in the background. And as he's looking on this, phone at these videos of her, and I guess, like I said, taking these thoughts, and baby, all of a sudden we hear a gunshot. It ain't funny, but it just was like you're not expecting that. He done walked out by the daggone pool, and he done took himself out. So he spilled all this history and all these facts to Marshall, and then I guess was like, I guess I'd rather take myself out than have to pay up, or either he already paid up and felt like he didn't have nothing left. I don't know which one it was in his case, but it seemed like that was another choice that a lot of them was making, just to not have to pay. And of course everybody's running and screaming and looking, and they're like, "Oh shit, like what the heck," or whatever the case may be. And you hear somebody say there'll be more, where that came from or whatever. And so the next thing we know, I guess it was a reality check for Marshall, because we end up seeing him working in this restaurant, right? And they're asking him how much of his, wages do he have to give up? And he says 15%. And the guy's like, "Sheesh." And he was like, "Hey, that's okay. At least I get to keep my tips for myself." And they say, "Yeah, there's that." And so obviously they have this system where if you owe anybody back money from your, family being these slave masters and owning slaves and stuff like that, there's a way for you to pay them a percentage out of each check. Also we seen a scene where when he was in the bathroom washing his hands, it was a guy that came out with a shirt that says, "I own the slave," and apparently a part of his deal with the family, that his family had owned as slaves, they had this thing where he had to wear this shirt 2 days out the week that says, "I own slaves," and one of the days was Sunday. So I guess everybody made whatever different deals accordingly with how they saw fit to how they were going to be repaid. And I was like, that's kind of quite interesting. I doubt, we would ever see anything happen like that, especially maybe in my lifetime. But it was definitely an interesting concept. I know that it's going to be pissing a lot of people off, and you already know. But we had all these different workers now working in the backs of the kitchens and stuff like that, and it was mostly white people, okay? Whereas before you would have probably seen mostly black and brown people. And when they was bringing out the food, to the people that was there at the restaurant, it was mostly the black people that was actually sitting there, eating in the restaurant. Now you had different people that wanted to spend their money in different ways and get it in different ways. So definitely a whole nother concept, a whole nother, episode to make you think. All right. And like I said, to probably get some people panties in a bunch. But that was Atlanta, y'all. Tell me, did you like it? Did you not like it? Was it intriguing to you? Did you see where it was going? Can you see something like that happening in our lifetime? Put it all in the comments. Let's discuss. Okay. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Till next time. Toodaloo.